everyone, Amer back with another Mission Impossible review video of sorts. I'm working on some more episode reviews just so that we can kind of finish with the revival. But I thought I would take a little bit of a break and start something that I have talked about multiple times. And it just, I don't know, it just seemed like something that I wanted to do. And that is to start the best of lists, hoping that it'll give me some more ideas and maybe generate some more ideas from the community for more of these kinds of lists. So one that I found that I figured would be relatively simple and straightforward to do was a ranking of all of the guest female agents from episodes in the original series. In looking at it, my logic was this, ranking the male agents for some reason, doesn't really kind of make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Just because of the nature of the show, it's not, it's not a sexist thing, it's not a gender thing, whatever. It's just that the nature of the show and the way the casting is and the way that the way that the show works, ranking the ladies just kind of seems to make sense to me somehow. I wish I could explain it, but they're all so different and so unique. Whereas a lot of the male agents kind of seem to, be cut from the same cloth or be made out of the same mold, so to speak. So I hope that makes sense as kind of an introduction. I will be doing a ranking and discussion of the main cast female agents, but I wanted to start with the one-shot agents, the ones you'll only see in one episode. Interestingly, I found in looking back at it, and I figured that this would be the case, that really there's either one or the other. There's only one lady who kind of straddles the line a little bit, so to speak, and I'm going to count her with the main cast ladies, which I'll be talking about later on. So without further ado, let's get going. Last thing I think I should say is that most of these ladies appear in situations where an extra or a substitute kind of makes sense. Many are from season 4, where there was no mainline female agent, or from season 7, where because of circumstances, they needed somebody to fill a role here or there. I counted in going back 16 actresses who played one-shot roles in different episodes. And here we go. Number 17, Alexandra Hay as Lynn. I can't believe that Alexandra Hay was actually even credited in this one, to be very honest with you. She does very, very little. I don't know, and I can't explain why she was even used here, to be very honest. She got on a plane. She was basically strip searched by some goons, and that was basically about it. She doesn't figure into the episode at all. Given that this is the first episode after Barbara Bain left. And you would think that the producers wanted to kind of make a strong showing that, hey, it's kind of business as usual or whatever. They do also want to make a showcase for Leonard Nimoy replacing Martin Landau. I do get that. But there's just something really, really bizarre about this whole thing. And it's hard for me to believe that there's anything here other than an attractive and buxom woman just being shoehorned into this episode for reasons, I guess. Somebody has to be at the bottom of every list. That's just the nature of lists. And I cannot think of a worse casting choice for whatever the reasons were than this particular. Number 16, Lynn Kellogg as Roxy. In the season 4 episode number 26 called The Martyr. She was shoehorned in because she was a singer, a folk singer. You wouldn't even know that she was an agent, and I actually would not have even included her in this list, except that she had one scene where she gave some information to the IMF. She's got a scene with Barney. And then in the rest of the episode, all she does is she's got a couple of scenes where she sings Bob Dylan songs, and then she kind of incites at the end of the episode a "We Want Maria" chant when Maria Malik is revealed to be, not insane as the government would have the people believe. And that was basically it. Again, like Alexandra Hay, I don't quite understand the reasoning for why she was put in here other than as a singer. Why she had to be made an agent in order to do that is also kind of weird to me. It's kind of interesting, the previous one was the first episode of season 4. This is the last episode of season 4. And I did comment that right around this time. This is where the 60s were morphing into the 70s. There was a lot of things going on with the counterculture, and the producers wanted to appeal to a more younger vibe and that sort of thing. And that obviously carries over into season 5 when they get a much younger actress than they had previously in Leslie Ann Warren compared to Barbara Bain, in order to kind of, go with that, so to speak. Not Lynn Kellogg's fault that she was used the way that she was, but in terms of contribution to the episode and overall addition to the plot, I would have to put her down here at number 15. Number 15, Antoniette Bower as Nora Bennett. Season 4, episode 19, Phantoms. Antoniette Bower is a prolific actress. She appears in other episodes, and she's quite good in those episodes. Again, this is not her fault and not anything to do with her quality as an actress. The problem here is that she has very, very limited activity in terms of her participation in the mission. She basically plays a ghost of the old flame of dictator Leo Vorka, and that's basically all she does in terms of her involvement in the mission. It's not her fault, but there's certainly nothing to write home about here in terms of her contribution to the mission. Number 14, Margerita Cordova as Zorka Banat. From season 4, episode 18, Gitano. She gets a decent amount of screen time in this one, and a fair bit of dialogue as well. Strangely, Ms. Cordova was not credited for her appearance in this episode, which is very, very strange to me. Reading between the lines a little bit, her performance was okay, nothing wrong with it at all, and she did contribute to the episode. But really, she was only there because she knew how to do the dancing that was necessary for part of the episode. That's how it seems to me. And, she's an agent, but that's really her role. And it's, truly almost as one-dimensional as you can get. Most of the ladies that we're going to be seeing in the next few, and that's probably the best way to describe the role, one-dimensional. Number 13, Michele Carey as Lisa from season 4, episode 11, The Brothers. She is important at a couple of key plot stages in terms of her presence in the episode and her dialogue. But, as I said, she's a really one-dimensional character. In terms of her role as part of the overall plot, it just really seemed to me that almost any actress could have filled that role. Her character just doesn't add that much to the episode and just really seems like a placeholder. And that's unfortunate, but that means that she really can't be put any further up the list. Number 12, Sally Ann Howes as Beth from season 4, episode 5, Fool's Gold. She's a good fit for this role. I like the way that she carries herself, as an aristocrat or an aristocrat's wife, I guess maybe is a better way to say it. She's a baroness in this episode. Unfortunately for her, her role is basically finished about halfway through the episode. So in terms of her contribution, other than, again, being kind of a placeholder, just somebody who's just kind of shoehorned into a particular role, there's really not a whole heck of a lot there. Number 11, Lee Grant as Susan Buchanan from Season 3, Episode 8, The Diplomat. Lee Grant filled in an episode where Barbara Bain was away. She's a great and prolific actress. You can look her up and you can see, the various amount of stuff that she's done over the years. She does a fine job in this episode. But again, there is a lot of one-dimensionality to her character. She's basically a damsel in distress. She's part of a good story. It's tough to even call her an agent. She's really not. She's fulfilling a role as part of the IMF's mission, but frankly, it's a bit of a stretch to call her an agent in this particular case. However, her performance is really great, and that's why I put her up here. Moving on to some actresses who are much more active in the story than the previous ones. Number 10, Anne Francis as Gillian Colby. Season 4, Episode 10, The Double Circle. I think that Anne Francis is a really good fit for this episode, coming off the heels of her show Honey West. She had some name value there. I think she's effective as a character here. And she definitely adds to the story in terms of driving some of the action, which is a very good and important thing for an effective female agent. And that is why I put her here. Number 9, Barbara Luna as Wai Lee, Season 4, Episode 12, Time Bomb. Barbara Luna has been in other episodes. She was in the Season 1 episode Elena as technically an agent, although she wasn't an agent for the purposes of the mission. And, of course, she had the extremely important role in the revival, not as an agent, but as the main villain, Amelia Barazon. In this one, she is an active participant and makes the episode better for what it's worth. This is a really terrible episode, and it was right down near the bottom, in fact, second last in terms of all the episodes that I ranked. But in this one, she does, I feel, a good job with the only decent role in this episode. Everybody else, again, not because of their bad actors or anything, but they're really, really bad characters. Not that hers was great, but, she's kind of the tallest pygmy here in this one, if you want to put it that way. And so that's why I'm putting her here. Number 8, Martine Bartlett as Ariana Domi. Season 1, Episode 11, Zubrovnik's Ghost. Very similar to the previous one, Time Bomb. This is not a good episode at all. But Martine Bartlett is an active participant and makes the episode better. She drives the action, the story and the plot being what they are. Her role is to just run the play, be a psychic medium, and give the audience the necessary vibe for the episode. Her performance comes off as quite genuine to me. I buy into her character. Not easy to do in an episode like this where there's a lot of hokum going on, but she is able to pull it off, and that's why I think she belongs here. Number 7, Mary Ann Mobley as Crystal Walker. Season 1, Episodes 4 and 5, two-parter, Old Man Out. This one is interesting in that she is the only female agent who appears as an additional agent, because Barbara Bain is also in this episode, of course. And their interplay is a key part of the episode. Her role here is a lot more flashy than most of the roles for female guest agents on the show. And her presence is definitely meaningful in this episode. But this being a two-parter means that there's a lot of plotting. And a lot of her scenes, unfortunately, are just filler. There's some good characterization of her as having had a history with Dan Briggs. That is a plus. And in the couple of key scenes where, there's important action that pushes the plot forward, she's great. Out of necessity, she had to have a stunt double for a lot of the the trapeze scenes that she did. That's not really a negative in this case. I think her performance warrants her being up here. Number 6, Marlyn Mason as Sandy, season 7, episode 12, Crack Up. This lady, who I didn't know a heck of a lot about, she's not quite as prolific an actress as some of the others that have been on this list. But she definitely seems like an actress who would be, and was in this particular episode, a natural fit with the rest of the crew. More than anyone, and I'm talking like anyone, even the main female leads of the show, except for Barbara Bain and Jane Badler, I would say that Marlyn Mason carries herself and fits the role which is required in many plots, or at least is a good thing for many plots, as really being a femme fatale. A woman who can just be this sexy, twist men around her finger kind of thing. She has that vibe. And I really, really like it. And I wish that we could have seen more of her on this show. In retrospect, this again being not such a great episode, but she carries a lot of the action in this episode and really makes up for the fact that it's a so-so story at best. And the villain, played by Alex Cord, unfortunately, not his fault, who carries all 3 kisses of death. But she is really a bright spot in this one. Number 5, Dina Merrill as Meredith. Season 4, episode 3 and 4, The Controllers, a 2-parter. Dina Merrill is the lady that I actually forgot in the first go-round as I was looking through making this list. I don't know how I missed that. She is a great fit for the role in this episode as a scientist in a weird love triangle of sorts, and really makes the best out of a good story that is based on a fairly hokey premise, unfortunately. She drives a lot of the action and is an important contributor in the episode from beginning to the very end, with all of the twists and turns that this 2-part episode takes. And there are a lot of moving parts there, and her character is, embroiled in just about all of it. For whatever reason, though, I don't get the vibe that Dina Merrill would necessarily be a great regular for the show, or, a permanent replacement for Barbara Bain, or that sort of thing. I don't even think she would fit most of the other roles, such as Lee Merriweather. Not that she's not a good actress, she definitely is. I think she could have that level of versatility. It just doesn't come across really in this particular episode. I think part of it, which I didn't realize at first, but, in trying to put the picture together, it does make sense. She was in her mid-40s when filming this episode. Not that that matters, but from her IMDb information, it seems that she was starting to slow down her career a little bit in favor of her business dealings, although she did continue to do guest spots here and there. You may or may not know that Dina Merrill is a daughter of E.F. Hutton. So she was born, into an extremely rich family and had all sorts of business opportunities on that basis. And that is what she basically devoted, most of her life to after a certain point. So while her performance here is great, not really quite at the level where I would say, wow, she could pull off permanent duty. Number 4, Elizabeth Ashley as Andrea. Season 7, episode 16, The Question. They pronounce it Andrea and not Andrea for whatever reason. Doesn't really matter. In this episode, Elizabeth Ashley gets a featured role as though she was a regular. In fact, in this one, she does more for the mission than the regulars do. It really is a great adjunct to her role from the season 6 episode Encounter, in which she was not an agent, but she definitely did drive 99% of the action in that episode. And she doesn't miss a beat working with this cast in this late episode, which is in the top 10, definitely, and her performance is a big part of it. I dare say that she got more focus than many episodes where there was a full-time female agent, and probably any episode other than maybe the Falcon, she definitely got more time and attention than Lee Merriweather. Number 3, Julie Gregg as Monique, Season 4, Episode 13, The Amnesiac. Julie Gregg is an active participant in this episode. She makes the episode way better with her presence. Unlike the other female agents on this list, even the ones who are going to come after her, she pulls off, Cinnamon Carter-esque double duty in this one, taking on multiple roles. She starts out as a singer, and then later on in the episode, she takes a pivotal role as portraying the wife of a general to run interference at a very, very critical time. Really reminds me of early episodes when there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on. This episode has a fairly convoluted plot, but when you consider that, she's playing alongside Anthony Zerbe, who is a really, really, really quality guest star, and Steve Einett, who is probably right up at the top of the list, maybe with Jason Evers, in terms of the quality of regular guest stars that were on this show. She holds her own as a solid presence in the episode, and this makes a very rare Power of 5 episode, which was very rare in Season 4 because there wasn't a regular female agent. So really kudos to her for having that ability and showing it off in this one. Number 2, Eartha Kitt as Tina Mara, Season 1, Episode 27, The Traitor. This is another interesting one because she is an additional specialty guest agent for the team, kind of like Ann Mobley earlier in this season. Barbara Bain is in this episode, but she doesn't do very much. I don't know whether that was by design or how exactly that shook out. But in fact, in this one, other than Martin Landau, none of the regulars do a whole lot in this episode at all. And she is really the driving factor of all of the action. In terms of the physical load of the episode, she's basically doing all of it, except for maybe Peter Lupus carrying her around a little bit. I can't think of any other situation where the female lead agent, so to speak, does as much physically as she does here. And it's just tremendous to watch. Visually, her performance here is probably the best among all of these guests. It's really, really impressive. But I have to give the nod for number 1 to Jessica Walter as Valerie, Season 4, Episode 2, Orpheus. Peter Graves, I read from the Mission Impossible dossier, even said that she was one of the best female agents they ever had on the show, and he wishes that they could have kept her on. She is totally believable in her role, the type of role that Barbara Bain was also really, really great at in terms of, an authority figure, running, Bavarian fire drills of sorts, behind enemy lines. Jessica Walter truly makes me believe in this episode that she could have filled Barbara Bain's shoes in terms of the versatility of the type of roles that she could play and just her resourcefulness in terms of acting. I really believe that she could have pulled off anything that Barbara could have. I can't quite explain or nail down how or why, but I can definitely feel her ability to, command the screen and just take control where necessary and do whatever needs to be done to get the effect that is required. And, you know, it's very, very high praise from Peter Graves to say what he said about her. And that's why I think that she definitely deserves to be number one on this list. And that's it for this best of list. This is my first go at it. It's going to be refined as it goes along in terms of how I can put things together. Thanks for this, you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like this best of video. There will be more to come, and I will be continuing soon also with the reviews of season 2 episodes from the revival. Those will be coming soon. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you get a notification of when new videos have come out. And please leave your comments about this. I would love to hear your feedback about this list and other ideas that you might have for lists that I can make. I'm really looking forward to doing more and more of these once the reviews are done. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.